President, I would like to ask you, what are the main challenges in UN européenne concerning CNUE and digitalization?
We are in the period of transformation, which means that the first challenge is the paperless office. This means what you have already experienced for some years in France. The notarial deeds are burning in a digital form. I mean, the real estate transactions in France are mostly done on a digital form, and the clients do sign on a digital way. The second challenge is the contacting via video conference. Here we have several fears. The first is how to identify the client, how to identify clearly that the person who I can see with the camera is the real person, and the identity card, which is in some countries just showed to the camera, for example in Austria, is not a fake one. There are several solutions in France, in Germany, and we are working on it further to get information from the central database, mostly of the ministries responsible for home affairs, to check and to compare these data with the identity card which is presented by the client. The third one is the interoperability of digital signatures. It is very strange that we are in a European Union and more than 27 solutions we use to sign digitally deeds. And there is no common interface where we can realize that the digital signature that was made, for example, in France, I cannot check it in Hungary whether this is a real one, a valid one, and comes from the person whom it was shared. We try to give some kind of solutions because the time is urging us. And the European Commission starts with in the e-codex system to make a kind of solution to be able to understand each other's digital signatures. And the CNUE just started to research a common operation of the European notaries, the EU doc. The EU doc at first is a connecting system between notaries. This would have been financed by the CNUE, but we are now at the first step, so I would not declare that this will be the successful one, but what we need to get a database where we can check each other's signatures, and this would give a prevail for the notarial deeds on European level. So when I send a notarial deed from Budapest to Paris, the French colleague can understand and read my signature. And this is essential, and this would have been the first step to approach a new common European system on the base of the digital signatures and electronic deeds. Another question is the interconnecting of registers. This is much more complicated because the registers are mostly led by the states, the different states. And we are afraid today on CNUE level that this would bring much more complication as we have today. There is another question. What is the future of the apostille? In several countries, they do have electronic apostille. But whether in a one market system from Tallinn to Lisbon, from Bretagne to Bucharest, do we need any checking system, any control that controls the signatures of the proceeding notary on a certain deed and confirms the validity of it? There are different answers of the countries. There are countries which have abolished mostly the apostille. So, for example, it is interesting, historically we are in a strong connection with Austria, the Hungarians, so it was already abolished in 65, but there is no apostille requested to France and from France to Hungary. But to Germany, the Germans do require the apostille. So we should find a common answer to the European Union, whether we need that or not. And there is also among us to tell a financial question, because in many countries, in several countries like in Spain, Romania or Hungary, the apostille is shared by the notarial chambers. So that is an income. And if we abolish the apostille, there will be a hole in the budget.
Listening to what you just said, I would like to ask you a very simple question. Why digitalization has been a real need in European Union? If we aspect it, you can go. Okay, go ahead. You push it.
Non. Vous voulez que je ferme ça? Oui. C'est fermé. Arrêtez, fermez là.
Oui, arrêtez, fermez. D'accord.
Okay. Yes.
Just look at me.
Yes. This is in historical aspect. We know the European history. This is like. I do not want to be rude, but this is like the youngest group in the kindergarten, where the kids want something and they took aggressively from the others. And we want to step over, we want to be an adult. So this means that we want to make an amicable Europe, a Europe of friends and brothers. And these led to be born the idea of the common market, the abolition of the taxes and frontiers, the idea of the common currency. And I think on technical way, the unification of such an important tool like the digital sphere is very important for the notaries. We can see, and you should not be a future teller, that the paper will disappear in 5 to 10 years from Bulgaria to the Netherlands. And then there won't be any obstacle to communicate with the digital platform. But it would request a huge amount of money to make the different technical solutions to unify or to introduce one which would be a one and common digital system. But we can make so-called dictionaries, technical dictionaries, where one information can be converted to another one and understood by another platform. But for the European citizens, it is the most important, because they will get a much better, much faster service. And we can, on environmental level, we can make less travels on economic reason, and we can improve the economic procedures with a fast notarial procedure, and but all the days will be based on the digitalization. And I can give you several other reasons. If you visit a French notarial office, it's fantastic to see the history, the old deeds 300 years ago until now. But that's history. And if you look onto them with an environmental eye, you see the forests within the paper. We want to leave it on our back, and we think that the archives, the paper, is the tool of yesterday. A faster, easier, and more environmental friendly solution is the digitalization.
Many thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
You were very, you really